Welcome back to the show. I am so excited to introduce you to Dr. Brian Garner, who teaches engineering at Baylor University. What you do is so fascinating to me, and it affects so many people. It helps so many people, and you think, how does engineering department help people? But Dr. Garner, you're going to explain that. We met personally at the showing of Where Horses Heal the Soul, which is the story about rock on writing for kids in Georgetown. Dr. Nancy Krennick, who sat right where you are, I interviewed her before the Waco Indie Film Festival, where the film was shown. And she was telling me about working with a professor at Baylor for many years, really for several years, on how equine therapy and horse therapy helps people. So I'm excited to welcome you here to your first podcast, I understand.
My first podcast, and that's it's exciting, and I appreciate the opportunity to share kind of my story. You mentioned engineering and helping people, and really, if you kind of boil it down, that's what engineers do. They're problem solvers. So their mission is to help people, to make the world better, to improve quality of life, make things safer, better, easier, and that kind of thing. And so in 2002, I had the opportunity to come to Baylor, and it was a God-given opportunity that opened up to be in what at the time was just the engineering department.
Well, and Baylor hadn't always had an engineering department. How old is that department now?
Well, when I came, I believe it was about 10 years old.
So relatively new.
There was engineering and there was computer science.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it might have been a little bit lower. I don't actually remember what year, but it was fairly new. And we had maybe 10 faculty in all of the engineering. And then over the years, we gradually grew. And at that time, in 2002, when I was hired, they had just adopted the vision of the day, which was the Vision 2012, the 10-year strategy, 10-year vision. And that included expanding into research. So Baylor was primarily teaching oriented way back then, and they had a vision that really had three prongs, which was maintain excellence in teaching, continue to be an excellent teaching institution, grow its research efforts and capacity, but the primary one was keeping its anchor on its Christian mission and heritage.
Yeah.
And so all three of those, to me, were very exciting. I had recently graduated from the University of Texas with my
You got all
doctoral-
three of your degrees there.
all three of my
Right.
degrees at the University of Texas, and I never had any grand vision of what I wanted to do, honestly. I just kind of doing what seemed natural as the next step. And when I had finished my undergraduate degree, I just felt like, gosh, I don't really feel like I know enough, and I was kind of interested in continuing. So I was able to get a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and I was able to get involved in a research faculty. My advisor was also mechanical engineering, but he did biomechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really was an opportunity to blend three of my key interests, which are engineering design. I love making things. I grew up doing Legos and the technical Legos.
Say, they do erector set.
Yes, I
stuff.
did that kind of stuff. I had the set that had the motors and the shafts and the gears, and I would always try to do robots and things with my Legos. And this was way back, so this is, it's much more fancy these days than what we had back then. But I loved building things, and I also I had a teacher in high school who got me interested in computers, computer programming, which at the time was very new. So this is in the early 80s. So, Apple computers were just coming out. Macintoshes were brand new. And my first computer didn't even have a screen or a hard drive. It was just simply I think it was a TI 994A is what they called it. And you connected it to your television, and you had to save any data that you wanted to save. You had to record it onto a cassette tape. And so that's how I did it. But
Yeah.
I was very interested in that. And then also I had an interest and dream to have medical impact, like
Yeah,
to
hence
help
the
people
body,
medically.
how the body works. And
Yes, and I've been able to do gymnastics when I was young.
oh, did you? Yeah.
So I think I learned a lot about biomechanics even before I knew what it was. How the body moves and stretching and to some extent physics, like how the inertia and the weight and the forces involved and how they transmit through your body in order to do things like gymnastics tricks. And so all of that kind of combined, I think, and really I'm certain looking back that the Lord was orchestrating things in my life. And it is very interesting, even when I was young, I remember praying that the Lord, because I had a grandfather who was very technically minded. He was he wasn't an engineer, but he was engineering like. He built stuff and made stuff. And
Could fix things. I bet. Yeah.
and I love my dad. He's a banker, but he did not have that. So my grandfather had it. It kind of skipped to my dad. He was wonderful with people, much more social than me. But I was like my grandfather in the sense that I kind of liked just working on stuff and making stuff. And so I knew from an early age that I had a knack, and the Lord had gifted me in there. So I prayed that the Lord would help me use and develop those talents and abilities and glorify Him with them and be a blessing to other people. So I remember that being a prayer growing up.
Yeah.
And, all these many years later, I can look back and say, wow, I think the Lord has really fulfilled that. And so anyway, I was able to get, at the University of Texas, get involved in this research where I combined these three things: engineering design, computer programming, and medical applications. And it was in, the field was computer modeling and human biomechanics.
Yeah.
So we were basically treating the human body like a robot in the sense that it had joints and it has actuators, which are your muscles that make it move. And we were developing equations that represent the physics of how those things interact, how the body moves when the muscles activate, and those kind of things. And then we were building computer models to simulate all of those things in order to study the human body. So it was the mechanical aspects of the physics and equations of the body, like a robot. And there was the computer modeling and the simulation, the computer programming, and then the applications to medical, because we were studying the human body. And their applications are very wide. We actually had funding for a while from NASA to, because my research kind of evolved into looking at the human shoulder and the human arm.
Right, I was reading about that.
Yes, so I was able to work on that for many years. And
The shoulder's an interesting joint. I mean, it just because it moves in every direction,
it's truly amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
it's so complicated and yet
and
so
painful
elegant.
if it goes out on you.
Yes, if you have trouble. And
Yeah.
so we were funded by NASA for a while because we could simulate the way the arm moves in different gravitational environments.
Oh,
So
interesting.
whether you may be out in space, and how is the arm be able to move, and how are the muscles able to actuate the arm when there's zero gravity, or maybe moon gravity, or maybe in a flight situation where you're pulling multiple gravitational force,
Right.
and fighter pilots,
down on you.
can they reach out and pull the ejection
Yeah, if they need
trigger
to.
if they need to? And so
Yeah, wow.
in computer modeling, that's just a number. What is the force of gravity? It's a number, the acceleration of gravity. And so we can change that in simulation very easily. So since we were doing this work, modeling the arm and simulating, running simulations, it was a nice fit. So anyway, that's one application. There's other applications as relates to different types of shoulder surgery. And if you move this muscle to this point or something like that, what effect does
And
that?
I would imagine in rehabbing after surgery, I mean, the research that you've done has helped doctors, physical therapists, and so forth.
Yeah, and one of the applications is predicting the effect of surgeries, and
Right.
what would be the effect if biomechanically if we do this or do that, and how we attach the muscles in different spots. And one of the projects we worked on for a while was reverse shoulder arthroplasty. So you basically, the surgeon will replace, so in the shoulder you have a ball and socket joint, right? The socket is on the scapula, the body side, and the ball is on the humerus, which is the arm, the upper arm. In reverse shoulder arthroplasty, they reverse that. So they move the ball to the body side on the scapula, and they put the socket on the arm side. And what that does is move the center of rotation inward, and so it gives the muscles a greater leverage, greater mechanical advantage. And so weaker muscles, this is more of a last resort type of a surgery, so weaker muscles tend to be able to, since they have a greater mechanical advantage in that situation, they're able to move the arm better. But there's other secondary effects, which are when you have a bigger mechanical advantage, it takes more displacement to produce the same movement of the arm, and so there's a trade-off. There's always kind of trade-offs. So anyway, we were able to study that kind of thing with the computer modeling. So there's just a lot of different ways that the computer modeling can help address questions that can be difficult to experimentally measure. So we can do in simulation, when you're talking about the human body, trying to measure what's going on inside, that's invasive and can be painful and can affect the system. If you're putting sensors
and will it
inside.
help? I mean, bottom line.
Yes.
Is it even going to help you?
So.
And you've got a lot of patents, I understand.
Yes, so very interesting.
So it's kind of moved into inventing things.
Yes.
And then inventing things that can be manufactured and then sold. So you're kind of doing the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So through that biomechanics work, when I came to Baylor, I was continuing to do some of that work in computer modeling, doing some experimentation to measure some things and use that as ways to validate our models. And then we had the opportunity, in fact, Dr. Walter Bradley from A&M had come to Baylor a little bit after me, or right about the same time. He certainly had a big impact on me when I was in those younger years, and he sadly just recently passed away, but his son, Stephen Bradley, is still here at Baylor. But anyway, through Dr. Bradley and a couple of other the young faculty, we were able to get some funding through Curves, the exercise program for
Gary
women.
Havens.
Yeah, Gary Havens. He had his headquarters here, and so he was interested in studying the biomechanics of his exercise machines.
Right.
And so we worked for several years evaluating the machines that they have, which at the time they had 13 different machines and, all different kind of exercises.
Yeah, it was a rotation that the ladies would do, yeah.
That's right. They would do stations. So they would work on this machine, then we'd get off and do 30 seconds of a jog in place, and then go on the next machine. So they had a circuit of 13 machines, and they may have more now, but he was interested in looking at the effectiveness of those machines and whether we might be able to improve them. So my role in the project, there was a number of faculty involved, and it was very exciting. We had a lot of students involved too. And but yeah, we were looking at how over the range of exercise motion these machines were providing resistance, and whether we could balance the resistance pattern to the body's natural strength pattern. So for example, if you flex your arm from a straight arm to a flexed arm, the strength changes over the range of motion. So you're strongest kind of in the middle, where your muscles are sort of in their neutral place.
Yeah.
If you extend all the way out, you're a little bit weaker, and if you pull all the way in, you're a little bit weaker. So there's this natural curve change in your strength over the range of motion, and so we were looking at how we could balance the exercise resistance of these machines to match that natural strength pattern. And so there were a number of interesting patents that we were able to
Yeah, in fact, I found one in researching before we had this visit, a leg press machine determining, how the leg works and how. Anyway, somebody that goes and uses a leg press machine, it was interesting to me.
Yes.
Somebody's got to figure this out and research it and look deeply into it, which is what you do. I want to talk about, though, the equine therapy and how all that came about with the invention of the Miracolt.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yes. So I had never, while all this was going on, I was fairly new at Baylor. We had different studies going on. We were doing this work with curves, and I guess it was toward the end of our several years of working with curves, somebody that I met He was another professor at another university, and he had a similar motion capture system as we had. Now, motion capture system is the kind of technology that they use to make video games or movies, and we use it in research. But they put markers on an actor, for example.
Oh, yeah, I've seen video of that where,
Yes.
right, and they translate that into then the video game, yeah.
Yeah, so there's an array of cameras, and the markers on the actor are recorded by the cameras. And by having multiple cameras, the three-dimensional location of the markers can be triangulated, and so that you get an XYZ trajectory of the marker over time. And that gets fed into the computer, and you can do things with it like animations. Or you can do research, like studying, okay, how is the motion actually happening? What are the angles? What's the timing? What's the phase? And all that kind of stuff. So we had a system like that. Another professor had a system, and he reached out to me because he was interested in learning how we used our system, and we had the same one. And he was the first one to introduce me to equine-assisted therapies, hippotherapy. I'd never heard of it before, but I thought, well, that's very interesting.
Hippotherapy.
And I thought, what in the world, do
Yeah.
we do therapy with horses? And through him and then people that he introduced me to, I began to learn about this amazing type of therapy, and where the rationale is that is similar to the natural movement of humans, such as walking. So if you're riding on a horse, the horse is driving your body through these natural movement patterns. So someone with a disability of various kinds, who might not be able to generate those movements effectively for themselves, their body can still experience them by the horse imparting the movements to them. And so we are aware, most people are aware of the benefits of exercise, like walking. You get out and you walk. There's a lot of
Good for
benefits
you,
to
yeah.
that. Yeah, just general overall health, whether you have a disability or not. And so the horse, by imparting these movements, can kind of impart the benefits of that kind of movement pattern. Now, of course, there's a lot of dimensions to the riding as well. There's the motion through space. There's an interaction with the animal. There's emotional aspects too. But
Just feeling the horse under you.
yeah, and the warmth. So, but
Yeah.
there are also effects. There's a component of learn about this, and kind of got interested in it, and was wondering, at the time they were really looking for people to do research to try to help understand and validate this form of therapy. There were a lot of stories of benefits, and the people who were providing the therapy who could testify to, we saw this person do this, and all these different conditions that were treated with it, from kids with cerebral palsy or autism, Downs. There's a lot of different conditions, all the way to adults, trauma, traumatic brain injury, stroke, all the, elderly balance issues. There were all these kind of things that were being treated. And but it kind of all boiled down to this rationale about, well, that's an area where I could study, I could contribute.
Yeah.
I thought this was very fascinating, and so that's how I got started. Is I thought, well, let me do some recording. We have our motion capture system. Let's record people riding on the horse and see what those movement patterns look like, and then we'll record the same people walking, and we'll see what those movement patterns look like, and we can compare it. So that's really how I got started. Was doing a study, and that study ended up being published in 2015.
So it's not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
Really?
No, not when we were doing that kind
Yeah.
of data. And I had a wonderful graduate student at the time, Rhett Rigby, who's now a professor at Texas Women's, and he continues to do study in these areas. He's doing a lot of studies with Parkinson's and so on. But But
Yeah, that's what I want to talk some more about is the applications for Parkinson's
sure.
and for older folks as well. We're going to take a quick break though, and we also have some video, I think, through Baylor University of the actual Miracult itself. So you'll see that a little bit later in the show as well. But meanwhile, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
I just got my Colgate Advanced LED Whitening Treatment in the mail, and I am very excited to have dramatically whiter teeth in just 10 days. My teeth are going to be 6 shades whiter. The treatment is enamel safe and hassle-free. It's even designed for my sensitive teeth. Let's open it up. Inside we have the blue light whitening device. It's a charger for after-age treatment as well. There's a full 10-day supply, and it looks easy to apply. Order yours today at shop.colgate.com.
This is the Sonos Arc Ultra, and this is what you need to know about. It represents one of the easiest ways to get into high-quality home cinema without loads of cables and faffing around. And that's because the Arc Ultra provides full Dolby Atmos without any rear speakers thanks to its sound motion technology. And Sonos is actually calling sound motion one of the most significant breakthroughs in audio engineering in nearly 100 years. It's an amazing setup, it sounds absolutely fantastic, I love the absence of fat. If you're a Sonos person, there's a reason you're watching this video.
And I'm here with Dr. Brian Garner of the engineering department at Baylor University. You teach a lot of classes, statistics, all kinds of things, but your research on movement and your invention that helps people who, everything from, this is what's fascinating to me, everything from autism to even Parkinson's. That's my understanding that that's the new area you're getting into. And how the Miracult is helping folks by mimicking that motion of a horse.
Yes, so to continue my story from before, I had gotten involved in this research looking at the movement patterns of the horse, people riding on a horse compared to those of people walking, and saw some very amazing similarities. But as I was learning about the benefits of this type of therapy, it kind of, I really believe the Lord seeded the whole thing. What if we had a mechanical device that could reproduce this kind of complex, three-dimensional, elegant movement pattern that the horse generates?
It is an elegant movement.
It is.
Interesting word,
the horse
yeah.
is one of God's creations, and you look at a horse and you think, gosh, it almost looks designed for people to ride on it, right? It's just the
Yeah.
perfect size, and it's got the strength and all that. And so this complex movement pattern, it is, it can be, there can be limitations to accessing therapy on a horse.
Right.
I mean, there's horses have limited bandwidth in terms of how much they can serve, and there's not, there's a limited number of locations, and you usually have to go out to where they are, and it can be costly. And there can be things like weather. If weather is cold or hot or windy, rainy, it can interfere with riding on real horses. And so the whole concept of what if we had a machine, and at first to me it was more like that sounds interesting and like a challenge. I never had this grand vision of, wow, if we could do this, it could be such a helpful tool. It was more like, I just wonder if maybe we could do it. And I had a background through graduate school of some background in robotics, and so I knew that, yeah, you could kind of make a complex computerized system that could drive whatever movement you wanted, but it would be expensive, it would be complicated, and I really didn't want to go that path. I thought, no, I want this to be, if we do this, I want it to be something fairly simple and accessible and not too costly. So my original vision was to make something that would just use a single motor and yet still generate this complex three-dimensional movement. And I had now recorded the data from our study. I had the data from multiple horses, and so I picked a horse that had a nice, big, elegant movement. And Shirley Wills out here at the Heart of Texas Therapeutic Riding Center, and then the folks out at Reach, which is in McGregor, both of them were very generous in their time and opening up their facilities and letting us come out and record those movement patterns, by the way. And so I had the data, and I thought, well, let's see what we can do. So I picked this horse, Callie, who is a mix of quarter horse and paint mare, 15 and a half hands, had a nice, big, elegant movement. If we can do Callie, we should be able to do any horse. So I set out, and I spent literally about a year just looking at the data. So we had the data, and I was just looking at this movement pattern and trying to figure out how can we design a mechanical mechanism under the hood that would reproduce this in the seat, which is, we had the data. So I had the first concept was sort of robotic, and the second one was like, well, I could use cams, but that seems too obvious. Then I had a third concept, which was using what's called a spherical 4-bar, which is kind of like a grasshopper oil derrick. You know, it's a four bar. It kind of does like this, and I said if we could do multiple of those, we could generate this. And so my first effort was using that approach, and it worked beautifully on the computer and the simulation, but in practice it really was not very good. So I went back, second attempt, I went back to the cams, which is basically discs that have a certain shape. It's almost like a player piano. So the different discs are shaped such a way so that they move a particular part of the seat, and you put them all together, it moves the seat all through this complex cycle. And lo and behold, my second effort worked pretty well. And I actually, at that time, had Nancy Krennick from Rhino Center for Kids. I reached out to her. I said, hey, I've got this thing. And I had met her before because of my other study work and just the whole interest in equine assisted therapies. And so I had her come up and write it. And that second prototype was big and noisy and clunky, but it did produce the movement. And she got on it and she was like, it actually feels pretty realistic. I think you're onto something here. And, some other people were telling me things. So I thought, well, let's keep going. So I made a third generation version, which basically kept the same mechanism, but made it more compact and quieter. And on that version I had a group of students. This was about 2013 timeframe. A couple students worked for me over the summer, and we built 2 of those prototypes. And they actually worked pretty well. And so I began going around to different therapy clinics, and I call them up. I called up the Hillcrest Hospital, and one of the places I called up was Hope and Belief Therapy here in town, which is run by Julie Melton, and her husband works in the sports here at at Baylor. And I said, I got this, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm a professor over here. I built this thing, and could I show it to you? So I would start taking it around. And
by that time, it was portable enough, about the size of a filing cabinet.
It's a small filing cabinet. It's on wheels, and it's got a plug, and so I can just plug it into the wall. So I would pack it into my little SUV, and I'd drive over, and I'd unpack it, and I'd reel it in, and get them to look at it. And without exception, everybody thought it was really cool. And in fact, Julie Melton over at Hope and Believe, she kind of spoiled me because she walked, all I did was I wheeled it in there, and before I could even show her what it was, she's like, oh my goodness, I need 2 of those. And I was like, really? Oh, this is going to be easy.
This is good.
Yeah, and she, lo and behold, she had a history of using equine assisted therapies, and when she saw that, the shape of it, basically,
she knew the value.
She kind of knew what it was, and she knew the value of the motion. So that's kind of how it got started, and from there, it's just been a long road of trying to improve the.
Well, and another group that you studied was at the Delaney.
Yes.
And I'm falls and how devastating that is to an older person who falls, and how this motion can help folks. Tell them about that study. That it was pretty simple as far as what you were determining, the ability to stand up, walk across the room, turn around, and come back and sit down. Doesn't sound like, but for an older person depending on how long it takes them to do that, it was a predictor of their likelihood of falling.
Yes. Well, like I say, I built those several prototypes, but then eventually we formed a company, and that company was trying to bring this technology to market. And it's a little bit of a God story, because one day I was driving from my house and coming to the office, and one of the routes that I take takes me right by the Delaney.
Right there overlooking the
And
lake.
I just had this, I think from the Lord, this impression like, hey, you need to go in there. And I was like, oh, why? And he said, just go in there. So I pulled over, and I thought, well, what am I going to say? And so I went in there, and I thought, well, I guess just asked to look around. So I asked him if I could look around, and I did. I went in there and saw their workout room. They have a therapy room, and I was just trying to be very, like, invisible. I just wanted to look.
Fly on the wall, yeah.
Well, I couldn't, because I peeked my head into the exercise room, and the far wall was all mirrors. And so the lady in there, Debbie Gill, saw me, and she says, oh, you're welcome to come on in. So got talking to them, and lo and behold, they were looking for some. I told them who I was. I had this device. You sit on it, it moves like a horse. And they said, my goodness, we've been looking for something just like that.
Really?
Yes, to incorporate dynamic motion into our therapies. And so we said, well, let's do a study to see the effects. And so we did. They had a population of elderly, so they have 3 different sections: the independent living, the assisted living, and then there's like a memory care. And we thought, okay, we'll do a study with the independent living. And
Because they're by and large more mobile anyway.
Yes.
And they want to keep that mobility.
Yes.
As long as they can.
And riding on the horse and riding on the Miracolt, it challenges your balance, because you're sitting on it, and the movement,
it's moving.
you really have to try it to appreciate it. But you get on there, and it really does move your body, and so your body has to respond. The motion is getting imparted into your body, and your body has to respond. So it uses muscles. It kind of ends up kicking you out of your ruts. So when you have movements that you do, you're getting to pick your preferred way of doing things, and so you might favor this direction or that direction.
Right.
And so some muscles might get overused, and balancing muscles might get underused. Well, when the motion is imparted to you, you don't get to choose. It just kind of
respond.
forces you. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
respond, and so
Right.
and it also challenges your balance. And so the idea of benefits for maintaining gait quality and balance and avoiding fall risk, we thought this could really be something. So sure enough, we did a 6-week study, and we did a number of assessments that were related to balance and gait, and one of them is timed up and go, which is a standard way of doing that. You sit in a chair, you stand up. As soon as you stand up, start a stopwatch, you walk 10 feet, turn around, come back the 10 feet, turn around, and sit down. And so from the time you get off the chair to the time you get back on the chair is timed. And there are studies that suggest that, if you can do the timed up and go in a certain limited time, and your fall risk is low. But as soon as you get past a certain threshold, then the fall risk starts elevating quickly. And so we did that assessment. We had an instrumented walkway, which is like a pressure mat. It basically records your footprints as you walk, so we can get things like how fast are you walking,
Wow, yeah.
what is your step length, what is your step width, and those kind of things. We did some balance tests where you're standing on a pressure mat, and we kind of measure your center trajectory. And there was a number of things. We had muscle strength. So there was a fellow there at the Delaney who is a trained therapist, and he would assess their strength, the hips and the core and the knees, and we did. So we did those assessments before. We had them do a 6-week treatment where they would ride the Miracle. Everybody continued to do what they would normally do. So if doctors had given them orders to do this or that, they would continue to do that.
They continued, yeah.
But then for our treatment group, we added about 10 to 15 minutes of riding on the Miracle. And then we also had a control group who would continue to do what they didn't,
But not the Miracle.
but not do the Miracle. And the plan was to compare the treatment group to the control group. Well, it was working fine, but it turns out that some in the control group got frustrated because they weren't getting to ride the horse.
They thought they were missing out on something.
They were so excited to ride the miracle, and
Oh, that's funny.
We didn't probably do as good a job as we should have to tell them you can ride it after.
Let
the
us
6 weeks.
finish this study.
Yeah, so some dropped out. So we lost a number of the controls, and some actually ended up sneaking in to ride the miracle, and so we had to kind of scratch them.
Those
So
old people.
yeah, so we ended up being able to complete 10 participants in the treatment group, but only 3 in the control group. So
Okay.
it's somewhat of a preliminary study, but the
Yeah.
data actually was very encouraging. So we did the assessment before, we had the treatment period, and then we did the assessment after, and we really didn't do anything fancy for the treatment. We just basically had them ride. Now, if someone goes for equine assisted therapies on real horses, you have a therapist and they're trained in that kind of therapy, and so they know
They're
how
doing
to do
a lot
that.
more
So we
than
were just keeping
riding.
it very simple, just ride, and it was quite stunning actually. Some of the data we saw moderate increases in strength of both the hip and the core for the treatment group, whereas that was not seen in the control group. And we saw perhaps the most exciting thing was in the timed up and go of the 10 treatment participants, 9 of them were above that threshold into the fall risk category before the study, so at the first assessment. And then after the treatment, 4 of those, all of them improved. 4 of them improved so much that they landed below the fall risk threshold. So it suggested that, again, this was somewhat of a preliminary data, but it suggested that, wow, this really is having
Yeah.
an impact on their
Well, their mobility.
ability. Yes.
And speed of being able to get up and walk and come back and sit down. And of course, when a fall happens to an older person, it can be devastating.
Yes.
So, yeah. Oh, that to me, there's just so much about what you're doing, Dr. Garner, that's remarkable. And as you say, with what you're doing at Baylor and helping your students to learn these things, but to use them for the Lord, is what's really neat.
Well, I want to be very quick to say that I believe this whole project is a gift from the Lord. This technology, I believe He answered my prayers, from when I was young, and allowed me to have this wonderful opportunity at Baylor. Baylor has been such a wonderful place. They've encouraged and supported. So being able to pursue research and to pursue these interests and to engage with these different people who do this kind of therapy, and the folks at the Delaney have been wonderful and working with us.
I can
and-
see assisted living places all over saying we need one. We need one of these.
Yeah, the Delaney has
Yeah.
one, and we really think that whole senior care market would be something that can really benefit.
Yeah.
Because the benefits of reducing falls are huge,
Yeah.
right? Both for the centers that are caring for their clients, they want their residents to be well cared for, the families, and of course the individuals. If they can avoid falls, like you said, a fall can be very devastating. And my grandmother, she had a fall and broke her femur, and that just really impacted her negatively from then on, and
Yeah.
it became very tough for her after that. So
Well, school is, underway, and so you've got a great semester ahead, and certainly pray all the best for
thank you.
for you and your work, and come back as you start on. I'm sure you've got other things in your brain that you're working on and thinking about.
Yes, certainly do. But certainly thank the Lord for bringing me to Baylor and letting me be here. When I think of the miracle, my hope is that it will be something that people see and say, wow, what cool, awesome things come out of Baylor University, and that is such a blessing for people. So
Yeah, well, it's a blessing for me to be able to let folks know about what you're doing, and a joy to get to know you better.
thank you.
Dr. Brian
Likewise.
Garner, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ann.
Stay with us. There's more of the show ahead. In fact, we're going to hear about an upcoming musical based on the historic Crash at Crush. What? Stay with us.
Another area of my research, another project that's been ongoing for quite a while, is looking at medical devices, therapy devices for individuals with various types of disability. And this work was inspired by the use of horse riding for therapy, which I was introduced to about, I guess around 2007 or 2008. And I had never heard of hippotherapy or equine assisted therapy. And someone got me interested in that. And the idea there is that the motion of the horse drives the rider's body through movement patterns that are similar to those of natural human activity like walking. So someone who has a disability and is unable to generate those motion patterns for themselves, by riding on the horse, they get to experience those motion patterns and the stimulations that causes in their body. And their body has to respond to that motion that's imparted to them by the horse. So being a mechanical engineer and learning how these motion patterns can be beneficial to people, began wondering, well, what if we had a mechanical device, a machine that could faithfully and realistically generate those complex three-dimensional motion patterns? And that was the birth of this project. And over years of work and about 4 generations of prototypes, we have a device that we call the mechanical horse simulator, and it reproduces the realistic motion patterns that you experience when riding. And you sit on it, and it's driven by a single motor. It's a nice, elegant, compact design. The idea is not to replace the horse, but to complement horse riding and make the access to that kind of motion pattern available to a broader spectrum of people, and to make it available if the weather is bad or someone has an allergy, or if it's just not safe to put someone up on a real horse. So this can provide that motion pattern as a complementary tool. The research that we have going on in our lab is looking at the basic responses of the human body when it experiences the riding motion. When the body is riding, what does that do in the body? How does the body respond? What kind of stimulus is it causing in the body? And so we have a very nice motion capture system, and we can record what are the motion responses in the body. We have a very nice system that measures the muscle stimulations, an EMG, wireless EMG system. So we can monitor specific muscles, left and right side, and see how are those muscles responding. Muscles in the core, muscles along the back, muscles in the shoulder, muscles in the legs and upper thighs, in the neck. How does the body respond to this motion pattern? We're also doing functional tasks before and after. So if someone does a balance test before and then they ride on the horse and they do the balance test after, how does riding on the motion of riding on this horse simulator affect the person's balance? And immediately after riding, or some short period of time after, or even longer periods of time after. So we have that kind of ongoing research in our own lab here at the Brick.
Let's unbox the all-new Walking Pad X21. It is the hottest thing on the fitness market right now. Whew. I like it. I like it a lot. Well done, Walking Pad. So after using the Walking Pad, I absolutely loved it. For the price, I adore it. I highly recommend it.
Stay with us. Elizabeth Riley has your Act Locally news. Don't go away.
A 4-burner, side sear burner with Clearview glass stainless steel grill from Monument Grills. Made of tempered glass, which is strong, insulated, and allows you to check your grilling without lifting the lid. Our porcelain-coated cast iron cooking grids offer a large cooking surface of 513.3 square inches, primary cooking area, with even heat cooking. The Monument Grills include LED control knobs and are easy to light with pilotless electronic ignition. Better grilling, better value, Monument Grills.
Lori Morgan will be performing at the Hippodrome Theater tonight, Thursday, August 28th. The Nashville-born singer and actress has been working on some new sounds that represent where she's at in life right now, and Waco could not be more excited to have her. Waco Civic Theater's performance of the iconic story To Kill a Mockingbird premieres September 4th and is showing through the 14th. There will be a benefit performance on September 5th in which Waco Civic is joining hands with the Greater Waco Legal Services for an evening of theater that explores the impact of justice on stage. Finally, the Tanglefoot Festival is bringing live music and great barbecue to Temple on September 12th and 13th, with names like Parker McCollum, Cody Jinks, Robert Earl Keen, and the Randy Rogers Band. You don't want to miss this lineup. Tickets are already on sale, so secure your spot for the Tanglefoot Festival in Temple. I'm Elizabeth Riley with your Act Locally Waco News, and I will see you next time.
Welcome back to the show. The Crash at Crush. If you don't know what this is about, you need to know what this is about. You would never have guessed, though, that someone would turn it into a musical comedy, but here we are.
Oh, yes.
2025. That's what you get. And I am so happy to welcome to the show Erik Swanson, who's the executive director of Historic Waco Foundation, and our wonderful Helen Howell-Graves at the Taylor Museum. And you guys have teamed up for a show. Let's have a show.
We're having back-to-back performances of a musical comedy about the crash at Crush on September 19th and 20th this year.
And this will be at the Lee Lockwood, right?
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
So, that's a wonderful venue to have something in the theater.
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
not downstairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the theater, because parking is great. I mean, it's just easy to get in. So this is a musical comedy by a group called Texas Comedies about this publicity stunt that happened in 1896. So, Mr. Historian, I'm going to have you give everybody the elevator pitch on what the Crash and Crush was all about, just outside of the city of West.
Yeah, so essentially it's exactly what you described it. It was a publicity stunt gone wrong or right, depending on certain points of view, because it sold about 40,000 tickets. So 40,000 people descended on essentially this made-up town of Crush, Texas. William Crush was the man. He worked
It was
for...
named after the guy who came up with a
Exactly.
brilliant idea.
William Crush.
Exactly, yeah. And he worked at the Katy Railroad. And people don't know, 4 months earlier, another railroad did basically the exact
Right, this
same
was
thing.
not the first time
So
this was
yeah,
done.
it wasn't an unprecedented event by any means. And
Right.
they went through all these safety checks, and the engineers ensured that, hey, the boilers, they're going to be totally fine. Everyone was going to be a safe distance away. So they sold tickets. They didn't make any money on the event aside from the actual ticket sales themselves.
So they should have sold sponsorships.
They should have. They could have went
Yeah,
went
and
a lot.
Ringling Brother was kind of involved as well. Had
think
a
they
tent
made a
set
tent,
up,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Right.
it was a circus atmosphere.
Yes.
Best I can
Right,
tell. Lemonade
right.
stands and all kinds of things.
Yeah. And so then they brought the two trains together for their publicity photos.
Right. We've all seen those
Yep.
pictures.
Yeah. And actually, I am from California and New Jersey and Pennsylvania, so I hadn't heard of the Crash at Crush until I came here.
Oh, really?
I was actually doing an exhibit for the Texas collection at Baylor, and I found the photos, and I was like, what on
is
earth is this? And I obviously needed to learn more about it. So when we heard about this opportunity, we each kind of heard about it
Right.
differently.
Yes.
Of the show?
Separately.
Yeah.
Yes. And I went to a performance of it in Austin with my husband.
So you've
and
seen
I was like, oh, yes, we need to do this.
We definitely need this closer to where it actually
It would be
happened.
really fun. You
For
know?
sure.
So that's why we decided, the Taylor Museum decided to do it. And then we
Yeah.
found out we were both wanting to do it.
Small
so we
world.
decided we would team up and work together on it.
Well, makes lots of sense. Absolutely. It's a 3-person cast, 2 women and a guy. And this Of course, I'm just curious. It's an hour-long show. Is that
Roughly, yeah, around
roughly an
there.
hour? Songs, sound effects. Somehow they've got to reenact. Because what happened was the boilers weren't okay.
They were not.
So what happened was when they actually did the collision, horrific, bad thing happened then. And it's,
Right.
People died. I mean, it
Right.
was...
But then other people started picking up all the shrapnel and things that were left on strewn around the countryside.
Yeah. Yeah, pieces of wood. It was flat. They were flattened, and all that was
Yeah.
left was like...
Exactly.
And so they had souvenirs. Have you seen, by chance, any museum-type people, any of those souvenirs?
Actually, if you go to see our performance at Crash or Crush, you will be able to see some of the debris. I reached out to the History of West Museum, and they have some of that debris that they're going to bring. For
Okay, I
both
did not
nights.
know that was there
Yeah.
in West
Right.
Texas. Yeah.
Right. And we're going to be having guest speakers before each performance. Alicia Richardson Donahue from the Railroad Museum in Temple is going to be speaking the first night, and then
Stephen Seeloff from Oral History is going to be also speaking as well.
Okay, good. I've never been in Temple to that museum. I need to go visit that museum.
I know Alicia from when I worked for Texas Historical Commission, so it's kind of like, oh, Alicia, can you do this?
She's perfect. Well, in reading about the event, at first the crowd was really kind of resistant to being pushed back to a safer distance. I mean, there could have been a lot more carnage
Right.
Yeah.
if they'd probably been allowed to be as close as they wanted. But one photographer had said a bolt took his eye out. I mean, there were
Yeah.
terrible grave injuries, and again, a couple
Exactly.
people died. But even ragtime composer Scott Joplin wrote a song.
Yes. Yeah.
Will we be hearing that?
I was actually we had a staff meeting today. I was thinking about, boy, it'd be really cool if we have a sound system. We have that playing, or like other ragtime music. So.
I think you really need
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It's called the Great Crush Collision
Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
There's also another country and western artist that has done a song about the Crash at Crush that Mike Crow from the radio station sent to me. I need to pull it. I need to send that to you as well.
We'll make a whole playlist.
We might have to do that as well.
I think so. Well, I'm just so intrigued by this because it is a 1-hour musical comedy with a live band. I mean, they'll have musicians there as well. Again, this is going to be at the Lee Lockwood Museum on Waco Drive. So
Right.
how can folks get tickets?
So you can get them online at the Historic Waco website.
Right.
Okay, so through you on Taylor Museum site, what's the latest
It's all going
with
to
that?
the one website
Okay.
so that it's easier. I think we have a link to it on our website now. We've relaunched
Okay,
our
Facebook pages.
website.
Do you have that as well? A Facebook page?
I think so. I believe so.
And I see you have a QR code, maybe an easy way for folks to get.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not a huge theater, though. I mean, so folks need to go ahead and get their tickets early.
It's about 200 seats-ish around
Yeah,
there.
it's not huge.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that's about this. I think that was the theater that I saw it in Austin was a lot smaller than that.
Oh, even.
So it was, so it'll be it's good that it's not huge, not too big.
Well, I just think it's a tremendous way to number one, inform people about a truly historic event that happened right here in Central Texas, and there is a historical marker
Yes.
there. How do you find that? I know it's outside of West.
Oh, well, we tried to find it and couldn't find it.
You couldn't find it? Well, that's not good. Okay, well, all right.
I
That
think
may
they
be the
moved
mission
it.
for us to go
I heard that they moved it somewhere else. It wasn't the original site. I don't know why.
Oh, well, it might be somebody's farm or something.
But yeah, maybe so.
because it was just sort of out. It was just a big
Right.
field where they.
And we're also going to have a mobile bar. Gin and Tipsy is going to be there, and then we're going to be serving beer and wine from Marie's
Okay,
wine
good.
bar, and beer from Brotherwell Brewery.
Okay, good. Yeah, I see you've got Community Bank and Trust and Hampton Inn and Suites and HEB.
HEB.
Also great
Great
sponsors
sponsor.
for this as well. So what are the ticket prices? What are they?
The $30.
$30. Okay. Well, people need to definitely get a ticket and support Historic Waco Foundation and the Taylor Museum. What's the latest on it? I know you're not open.
We are about to renovate our annex, and then once that's done, we'll be moving everything from the main museum building over to the annex, and then we're going to start a phased renovation of the main building.
Okay. So it's a
a
process.
It's starting to move a little bit.
Okay. All
Our
right.
train is starting to move, but it's
So
slowly.
very, very slow locomotive here. Latest with HWF, what's going on with you guys?
So we're about to enter a very busy season. So September, obviously we have Crash or Crush, very excited about. And then October, we have a brand new murder mystery that we're doing. Our last one was all about Bonnie and Clyde. Oh. And this one is the Cotton King's Demise. And it's going to be set at Earl Harrison and talk about Thomas Harrison, and he's hosting a birthday party, and maybe something nefarious is going to happen.
Something bad will happen. Oh. Okay, well, you're going to have to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that
Of
as we
course.
get closer to that.
Very good.
Well, this is great. The Crash at Crush, though. I mean, talk about an iconic event in Central Texas history. I mean, Waco. I mean, it's considered a part of Waco history. It's so
Right.
close. It happened so
Exactly.
close, and it was just such a bizarre thing. The guy that Mr. Crush, he was immediately fired
Yes.
from MKT.
Yes.
And then he was rehired.
Also, yes. Yeah.
He was
yes.
rehired.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Because apparently there wasn't a lot of bad press about it.
Right.
Who knew?
Yeah.
How could there not be
Yeah.
bad press about it? But
It
Anyway,
was,
and
it was a spectacle.
it was a spectacle, that's for sure. And he ended up with a 60-year career with MKT.
For sure.
Interesting story.
Yes. Yeah.
Wonderful
Oh,
story.
yes.
So yeah, musical comedy, The Crash at Crush. I can't wait. It's going to be lots of fun. Again, this is going to be September 19th and 20th. So yeah, go to Historic Waco Foundation or to their Facebook page and get your tickets.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank
Thank
you, Eric.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Helen, so much.
Thank
It's
you
good to
so
see
much.
Yeah. All right. Stay with us. We've got more of the show ahead.
It was on a day in September 1896 that a rural area about 10 miles north of Waco and 3 miles south of the town of West became the second largest populated city in Texas for a single day, as more than 30,000 people came from all over the country to witness an event that would forever be known as the Crash at Crush. The temporary city of Crush was named for the MKT Railroad passenger agent William George Crush, who came up with a promotional idea to take two old locomotives and send them speeding toward one another, staging a huge crash. The MKT Railroad that Crush worked for bought in on the promotional idea, and after months of planning and promotion that included a special flat $2 rate for travel to the site from anywhere in Texas, grandstands and a special track were constructed. At 4 p.m. on the afternoon of September the 15th, 1896, steam engines number 999 and 1001, along with two boxcars behind each engine, were backed up on the special 4-mile track constructed for the event. After each engine had reached maximum steam capacity, they were sent racing toward each other. It was estimated that both engines had reached a speed of about 45 miles per hour when at the predetermined spot, the spectacular crash occurred. Contrary to railroad mechanics' predictions, the steam boilers exploded on impact, propelling metal bolts, pieces of scrap iron, and debris into the crowd, who were hundreds of yards away. 2 spectators were killed, and several more were seriously injured. The MKT's wrecker crews moved in quickly and removed the larger wreckage. Souvenir hunters swarmed over the site, carrying off most of the rest of the wreckage. All that's left of the Crash of Crush is a few old newspaper accounts, a few photographs, a song written by Scott Joplin, and this historic marker to commemorate the Crash at Crush.
Thanks for being with us. Join me tomorrow when the delightful Terry Ann Kelly tells us about students standing strong. You have a great day. Bye-bye.